Hello everybody, I'm Alan and it's my great pleasure to introduce you to Rush Keys Deluxe. Let's get started with Tom Sawyer. Rush Keys Deluxe is a sound library created using the Arturia OPXA, which is a software recreation of the legendary Oberheim OBXA, the Arturia Mini V3, which is a software recreation of the Mini Moog, and some other instruments, but mostly the OPXA and Mini V3, okay? This is main stage, and the way that I have this laid out is for someone who would use a 61 keys keyboard on top, and then a 1-octave MIDI pedal on the ground, okay? Geddy Lee played the Moog Taurus, which was a synthesizer pedal. He played with his feet. You probably know this already. So this is laid out, simplifying everything. 61 keys keyboard on top, and then a MIDI pedal on the bottom. For Tom Sawyer, we need the intro growl. The Mini Moog lead, which has the filter attached to the keyboard, and then the high pedal notes. These are for the highlights. So these are the sounds for Tom Sawyer. Red Barchetta, 2 different sounds, pedal bass, and then phasing synth. Enough said. YYZ. Those are the highlights, and I have made 2 different versions, one on the OPXA, one on the Mini Moog, because they are 2 different synths with different filters, but some people may prefer the sound of the OB. Geddy had his Moogerheim in the 70s. It was a custom-made Oberheim voice with a Mini Moog, and it was interfaced with his Moog Taurus, so he didn't play just Moog Taurus sounds with his feet. He could trigger the Oberheim with his feet, so I'm not sure if those sounds were Moog Taurus, or the Oberheim. But anyway, if you prefer OB, you can go OB. If you prefer Moog, you can go Moog. This is the OB version of the same sound. Now the Mini Moog version. You can see that the OB is louder here, but the Mini Moog seems to cut a little bit more. It seems sharper, at least to me. But anyway, you have the options here to use the Mini Moog highlights or the OB highlights. Later on in the song, we get the fantastic brass patch. This is a gorgeous sound. It's sort of stereo wide, not too much, but it is stereo wide. And that's YYZ. Now for a Limelight, just a very simple reso sweep. I have an additional channel strip here on the top keyboard, but I'm not sure if I'm missing any sounds. Let me know in the comments if I'm missing any sounds, or your judgment if you think this sound is not good enough. If it needs a little bit more of this or that, okay? I'm interested in your feedback so that I can make this better and keep this improving all the time. So Camera Eye, this is the last big Rush song, over 10 minutes Rush song, and I have a few different patches here. So the song begins with that sequence, and I have 2 versions of the sequence. One is programmed so that it's more predictable, and one is randomized. This is the programmed one. You can see the Taurus on the left. Maybe this needs to be more open, a little more cut off, but I think it's good. Now this is the random version. I think in the record it's a random. And I made this using the Jupiter 8 version 4 by Arturia because, at least to me, this sequencer here is better to use than the OPXA sequencer. They're both instruments made by Arturia, but I prefer the Jupiter 8 sequencer, and I was very, very happy with the sound that I got for this sample and hold sequence. And that's the intro of Camera Eye. Then we get the panning sounds. I also have two versions for this. One is panning, one is not panning. It's centered. I'm going to show you why. So let me start with pan. Okay, you can see that it's clearly going left, right, left, right, left, right. And this is good for the intro so that you get the right energy, the right vibe. But it's not so good to play the full chord because it sounds too sparse because it's being panned. Like each note is being panned. So to play the full chords, it's better to use the center version. Okay, now later on in the song, we got the LFO OB right here for that. Also two versions for this sound because I feel like it's a saw LFO going ding 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 ding. But I also made a sine version because some people may prefer and then the whole band kicks in with a da 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 da. Right now I'm playing this sine here, but I'm gonna choose the saw. And to play both sounds with your feet, if you're a bass player and you play like Eddie, you're gonna be playing it boom, 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 boom. It's better to put this LFO OB stacked with the high Taurus so that you get both sounds by stepping on only one key, going. Oh, and I forgot to mention that this patch is the same one that you're gonna use for okay, so that's it for Camera Eye. Now moving on, vital signs. We got the sequence here. The cutoff attached to the mod wheel so that we get the opening of the filter. And you can leave the filter as open as you like. Everybody got mixed feelings, right? Now, witch hunt. I didn't need to make a different sound. This here is the same brass from YYZ. So the YYZ brass, along with a choir made on augmented voices, It's a mix of female ahs and oohs, and it goes like. If you want to beef it up a little, make it more girthy, you can play the exact same thing with 2 hands. Yeah, this is loud. Maybe I need to get the volume down, but it's sounding nice. Witch Hunt. So that's it for moving pictures, alright? Now signals, subdivisions. If you've been here on the channel for a while, if you're not new, you probably have this patch already. It's the OB polysynth from Subdivisions. But there's a twist because I made a change. I added a second chorus to this one because I was listening back to the music video and I noticed that it's a little bit more chorusy, a little bit more wet. So I added a second chorus. This one already has a chorus. But I attached the send of the second chorus to the mod wheel so that you can go. Now this is just the OB, so without the second chorus, only one chorus. With the second chorus. But it would also be interesting to add the same choir from Witch Hunt, because I do feel like it has, along with the OB, it has a choir, but I didn't add it here. Maybe I'll add it later, but you're gonna get this patch. You can stack them if you want. Okay, so Subdivisions, and then the lead. Got the lead here. Very similar to the Tom Sawyer mini moog. And that's it for Subdivisions. Now, Analog Kid, you move me, move me. Augmented Voices choir, female choir, punchy mini moog bass. And by the way, you see that I have distortion here. This distortion is from main stage. You don't need distortion, you don't need any of these effects, but they may be interesting to beef up the sound a little bit. Always remember that when you record an album, in the 70s or 80s, it's not just the sound of the synth. You have the synthesizer, and maybe it's plugged directly into the mixing console. Maybe it's plugged into an amp, and then you have a microphone catching the sound from 10 feet away. Maybe you put the synth through a preamp like a 1073. You have lots of different things to add to the sound of the synth. So I do my best here to make the sounds as ready as possible so that you can just plug and play. But yes, you can change the sound to make it better. You can make it more girthy. You can EQ if you want. I did my best to not need any EQ here. But anyway, this is the mini moog sound with distortion. If I take out the distortion, it still sounds fine. The distortion is adding a little bit of volume, a little bit of roundness to it. lastly, the wobble bass. So yeah, Analog Kid. Now, chemistry, I didn't start making the sounds for chemistry yet. The sounds that have asterisks here. I don't know if asterisks is the right word for this. At least it is in Portuguese, but these little stars. The patches that have these are not fully ready. I am going to make the sounds for chemistry, but I haven't done them yet. I want to release this preset pack by December. And by the way, if you get Rush Keys Deluxe, you will get all future updates, okay? So as I am recording this video, I don't have the sounds for chemistry and countdown yet, but I'm definitely going to make them. So yeah, Subdivisions, Analog Kid, now Losing It. Here you can see Oberheim, Polysynth, and then the higher voice Moog. I don't know if you noticed, but it's not just the sound of the Oberheim. There's also a higher voiced Moog in the back. And this Oberheim sound has sustain. It's not just decaying. It has release. But if you hold down a chord, fantastic OB patch, and the higher voiced Moog. Now Countdown, still haven't done the sounds for Countdown. Spirit of the Radio, I believe this needs a little bit more work. I am not fully happy with the sound. I made this using pigments. And Tim Starachi, my buddy, sent me a video of the Spirit of the Radio sound check, where Getty is programming this sound pretty fast using the Oberheim and his sequencer, and I made this patch based on that. If you listen to the visualizer, that music video, the visualizer Spirit of the Radio version, I believe this is a little bit more punchy. I don't know if in the remaster they did anything to this patch, but I do believe it needs a little bit more girth, but it's already usable. Invisible airways. Okay, now here I see Taurus and Highlight Synth. I don't remember exactly what these are, but anyway, you guys probably remember. I'm just gonna blast through. So Freewil. Moog Taurus highlights, pretty standard. I believe I calls this patch High Taurus 2 octave because this is a 2 octave sound. Very usable, it cuts through the mix very easily, and it's a very common thing in Rush, okay? So yeah, Freewil, only that. Now Jacob's Ladder, this is one of my favorites. This is the only song that has an organ sound. I'm not sure if it was an actual organ or an organ patch from a 70s or 80s keyboard. Anyway, this is as close as I could get. Has a very slight fade in. And then the fourth lead. Very sharp lead, right? So that's the fourth lead, and then the other Moog lead for the gorgeous other part. So this is the Taurus, And we're gonna change octaves because first he plays on this octave, and then later for this part he goes. Yeah, gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous Moog lead. I believe this really encapsulates the vibe of 70s prog rock. And you probably noticed that if I play legato, the filter stays pretty tamed, let's say. But if I let go of a key and then press another before the filter is done closing, the filter will open more. This is the nature of the Mini Moog. Like the filter re-triggers, and if it didn't close all the way down, it's going to re-trigger, opening up more than before. So if you just play legato regularly, but if you let go, this makes the Mini Moog very alive, and I believe it's better having this aliveness to the Mini Moog than just leaving the filter stale, okay? Now, because I'm using my left hand to play the Taurus here, I programmed the vibrato to be on the aftertouch. But the vibrato is already on the mod wheel. The aftertouch is just doing what the mod wheel is doing. That's the way that I set it up. I went into the modulation matrix, and then aftertouch modulates the mod wheel, okay? This is so that you can play with two hands if you don't have a MIDI pedal. But if you have a MIDI pedal, you're probably going to be playing this with your feet. I think it's better playing the vibrato with the mod wheel, okay? So that you get the filter closing along with the vibrato. You see, I let go of the key, but the vibrato is still there because I'm using the mod wheel. If I don't use the mod wheel, when I release the key, I also lose the vibrato. So yeah, it's just, you figure it out, okay? Taurus organ for the introduction, fourth lead, very sharp, and then the Moog lead, which is really mellow, really 70s, really encapsulates the prog rock movement. Now, Xanadu, this is also one of my favorites, and you can see that I have 1977 and 1981. So the album version is 1977, 1981 was Exit Stage Left, and he played a different version of the sounds. The Taurus, the very first sound that you hear on Xanadu of the album, is drier. It's more like this. Oh, it's an octave higher, sorry. Yeah, and then the lead is very high, something like... But on Exit Stage Left, he's using a more aggressive, more growly Taurus. So comparing, this is the album version Taurus. Very dry, and this is it's an octave down, and it's more girthy. 1981 lead. This is the lead. It's very, very similar, but he's playing an octave lower. I believe it has a little bit less resonance. This is the 81 lead. Anyway, you can really go crazy with this one. So yeah, Xanadu, 2 Tauruses, 2 leads, and here we got the Rezo Taurus for that part of the Sacred River. Right? So that's Xanadu. Now, closer to the heart, this is just a Taurus. The Moog Taurus had a distorted saw wave as its foundational waveform. The Mini Moog has a regular saw, so that does make a difference. But you can see that I made this Taurus patch on the Mini V3, and it doesn't even need a distortion. It's already good enough. But if you want, you can add a distortion later, right? Just bear in mind that it's different having a distorted saw wave going through a filter, going through an amp, than having a regular saw wave going through a filter, going through an amp, going through a distortion later. You see, it's not just a distorted saw. It's the whole thing distorted after it's already amplified. But it's good enough without any distortion. This is a very usable Moog Taurus sound, okay? Cygnus X1, still haven't started on this one, but again, if you get Rush Keys Deluxe, you are going to get all future updates. So far I have a little bit more than 50 sounds, but if I can get this up to 70, 80 maybe, I will. Now Hemispheres La Villa Strangiato. You probably know that Alex plays this, not Getty. You can clearly see it on the, is it Exit Stage Left? I don't remember which live video, but there's a live video where you can clearly see Alex playing this. So before I made this version without any release, so that I would have to play legato. But then when I saw Alex playing, he can't play legato with 1 foot, right? So it did need release, and I made it. I believe it's good enough. So imagine I have only 1 finger. This would be my foot. It's good enough. It got the right release. Maybe I'm gonna get the sustain down of this filter a little bit. Sustain too. Oh, maybe I want it to stay more like not so open. And then the Squarinato. Okay, La Villa Strangiato. This Taurus has some distortion to add a little bit of roundness. Without the distortion, this would be like already fantastic. But if you want to round it up a little bit more, you can use a distortion. But be careful, because different distortions, overdrives, saturators, they have their own sound. So it's not just, oh, add a distortion and you're fine. You're probably going to have to do some tweakings on the tone, maybe how much drive you want. You see, I have only 5 dB here, decreasing the volume a little bit and distorting more the bass part. Anyway, this is La Villa Strangiato. Now the trees. This is also one of my favorites. Very, very cool sounds. This mini moog is very alive as well. If you play legato, the filter stays set very nice. It behaves very well, but if you don't play fully legato, if you let go of the keys just a little bit, it misbehaves a little. What song is that? Let me know in the comments. The trees, yeah, Moog lead, Taurus, and then Rezo Taurus later. Oops, not this one. Right. I'm not sure if it's the same Rezo sweep. Probably not, but okay. Mini Moog Rezo sweep for the trees. Cygnus X1 Book 2, still haven't started on this one. Grace Under Pressure. Now, Grace Under Pressure is a different album because this was the 80s and Geddy was using a PPG Wave. Arturia doesn't have a PPG Wave plugin, but it wouldn't be something that is necessary because the PPG is a wavetable synthesizer. I have Pigments, which is a wavetable synthesizer, and if I create pigment sounds, I can share them with you via Analog Lab. Even if you guys don't have the entire V collection, or even if you guys don't have Pigments, you can still access Pigment sounds if you have Analog Lab, okay? But these aren't they aren't exactly the same to program as analog, like 70s analog sounds. These are a little bit different. They have a different character. So Distant Early Warning, haven't started on this one as well. Red Sector A, coming soon as well. I'm gonna need to spend some time like getting to know Pigments. I do know Pigments, but getting to know how to turn Pigments into a PPG so that it sounds really, really nice. But Afterimage, I believe I got this one down. This is a great song. Now this is the magic here. I'm not sure if he was using an OB to make the sound or if it was the PPG, but I made it on the OPXA and it's very nice. The phaser is on the mod wheel so that you can make it more, you know. And this is a punchy Moog bass, also very usable. Let me show you without the distortion. It's good, but I like this distortion. I did try using the Analog Lab distortions, but I wasn't exactly happy. But you guys probably have 10 different plugins of distortion drive. And if you want to use without a drive, it's okay, it's perfectly fine. I recommend using the distortion because the distortion adds even harmonics, so it rounds up the sound a little bit more. Maybe makes it a little bit more punchy. So yeah, Mini Moog bass. and OPXA sound with a phaser. If you notice on the song, when he's playing the sus part, I believe there are 2 tracks of the same sound, maybe panned a little bit differently, maybe EQ'd a little bit differently, but one is definitely just and then you have another one going. Yeah, Afterimage, great song. Yes, guys, so that's what I have so far. Again, I'm gonna say it one more time. If you get Rush Keys Deluxe, you are gonna get all future updates, okay? And you are gonna get this Rush Keys Deluxe main stage concerts in case you are a main stage user. I know how much time it saves, creating all the splits, the layers, and yeah, that's it. Now, I have one last thing to say. If I go here into Xanadu or Freewil, no, Jacob's Ladder, you're gonna see here that I have sends aux1, aux1, aux1. This is a reverb. So I purposely left the sounds without any reverb, especially the Minimoog sounds, because I feel like reverb is a more personal choice. So if I take out the reverb here, you're gonna hear Jacob's Ladder fully dry. You hear the dry moog. Maybe you download the sounds and you say, oh, it's too dry. Yes, I did it purposely. No reverb so that you can put it into your DAW of preference and then have one track with a reverb. Why? Because different plugins have different reverbs. And if I were to set one reverb for each instrument, one reverb for each sound, it would maybe be weird. And frankly, it would be a waste of time to try and mimic the exact reverb from the records using the reverbs that are inside of the plugins. So in my opinion, it's better having all of the sounds without any reverb, and then you have one bus. In this case, I have only one bus here on the, it's called concert level. I have aux1, which is the chroma verb from main stage. It does have some EQ here, but this EQ is for the reverb. Okay, this is not a reverb on the master, on the output. This is a EQ only for the reverb. So Jacob's Ladder without any reverb. With the reverb. Okay, so go to my website, check it out. In case you are a Pink Floyd fan, I also have a Pink Floyd sound pack. If you are a Roland Phantom owner, I have Pink Floyd and Rush sound packs for the Phantom as well, okay? If you aren't subscribed to the channel, subscribe please. My name's Alan. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. This is Rush Keys Deluxe. I want to make it better. I want to improve